Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. The hallways buzzed with chatter as students filed into Jefferson High for another day of classes. Amidst the sea of faces, a slender figure with long chestnut hair and delicate features made her way to her locker. Melissa smoothed down her floral sundress, heart racing as she caught snippets of conversation around her. "Hey, Melissa, cute dress," called out Brittany, one of the popular girls. A warm glow spread through Melissa's chest at the compliment. Just a few months ago, she'd been terrified to take this step, to come to school as her true self. But the girls had welcomed her with open arms, taking her under their wing and treating her like any other female classmate. If only they knew. Melissa pushed the thought away, focusing instead on gathering her books for first period. As she closed her locker, she noticed Travis leaning against the wall nearby, watching her with a slight smile. Her pulse quickened. "Morning, beautiful," he said with a wink as she walked past. Melissa ducked her head, cheeks flushing. The attention from guys like Travis was intoxicating, validating in a way she'd never experienced before. Part of her reveled in it, while another part felt a pang of guilt. What would Travis think if he knew the truth? The warning bell jolted Melissa from her thoughts. She hurried to class, sliding into her seat just as the final bell rang. As the teacher began taking attendance, Melissa's mind drifted to the night before. "I just don't understand why you have to dress like that at home, too," her stepbrother Ethan had grumbled over dinner. "It's weird enough at school." Melissa had shrunk in her chair, appetite vanishing. Her stepmother, Susan, shot Ethan a sharp look. "That's enough, Ethan. We've talked about this. Melissa is free to express herself however she wants in this house. But—" "No buts," Melissa's father interjected firmly. "Melissa is who she is. End of discussion." Melissa had given her dad a grateful smile, though inside she felt hollow. She knew this was hard on her family, especially Ethan, who'd gone from having a brother to suddenly living with a stepsister. She couldn't blame him for being uncomfortable. Sometimes she wondered if it would be easier on everyone if she just— "Melissa, earth to Melissa!" She snapped back to the present, realizing the teacher was staring at her expectantly. Heat crept up her neck as titters erupted around the classroom. "Sorry, what was the question?" she asked meekly. The teacher sighed. "Please try to pay attention. As I was saying," Melissa nodded, face burning as she felt curious glances from her classmates. She hunched lower in her seat, wishing she could disappear. The rest of the morning dragged by in a blur. By lunchtime, Melissa was emotionally drained. She grabbed her tray and scanned the cafeteria, searching for a friendly face. "Over here!" Brittany waved from a table near the windows. Melissa made her way over, sliding onto the bench beside her friends with a relieved smile. Here, at least, she felt like she belonged. "Oh my God, did you see Travis this morning?" gushed Amber. "He looked so hot in that new jacket." The other girls giggled and nodded in agreement. Melissa's stomach fluttered as she recalled their brief interaction that morning. "I think he likes you, Melissa," Brittany said with a sly grin. "He's always watching you in the halls." "What? No way!" Melissa protested, though her heart skipped a beat. "Trust me, I can tell," Brittany insisted. "You should totally ask him to winter formal next month." Melissa nearly choked on her water. I don't know about that. Why not? You guys would be so cute together." As her friends continued to chat excitedly about potential couples for the dance, Melissa's mind raced. She'd love nothing more than to go to a school dance as herself, to wear a beautiful gown, to slow dance with a cute guy under the twinkling lights. But the thought of getting that close to someone, of them potentially discovering her secret, it was terrifying. "I'll think about it," she mumbled noncommittally. The conversation soon shifted to other topics, much to Melissa's relief. As lunch ended, the girls gathered their things and headed for the exit. Melissa lagged behind, lost in thought. She was so distracted that she didn't notice the figure rounding the corner until they collided. Her tray clattered to the ground, spilling the remnants of her lunch across the linoleum. I'm so sorry, Melissa exclaimed, mortified. She knelt to clean up the mess, keeping her eyes down. No worries, it was my fault, came a familiar voice. Melissa's head snapped up to see Travis crouching beside her, helping to gather the scattered items. Their eyes met and Melissa's breath caught in her throat. You okay? Travis asked, brow furrowed in concern. Yeah, I'm fine, Melissa stammered. Just clumsy, I guess, Travis chuckled. Happens to the best of us. He stood, offering her a hand up. Melissa hesitated for a moment before accepting it, her skin tingling where they touched. Thanks, she murmured, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. Anytime, Travis replied with an easy smile. He glanced at the clock on the wall. We should probably get to class. See you around, Melissa. As he walked away, Melissa's heart pounded. She'd never been this close to Travis before. He smelled amazing, like sandalwood and citrus, and the way he'd said her name. The second warning bell startled her from her daze. Melissa hurried to dump her tray and get to class, mind still replaying the brief encounter. The rest of the school day passed in a haze. By the time the final bell rang, Melissa was exhausted. She trudged to her locker, ready to head home and collapse into bed. As she gathered her things, she felt a presence behind her. Turning, she was surprised to see Charlie, a quiet boy from her English class. Hey, Melissa, he said softly. Can we talk for a sec? Melissa's brow furrowed. She and Charlie had never really spoken before. Sure. What's up? Charlie glanced around nervously before leaning in closer. Not here. Can you meet me behind the gym in 10 minutes? Alarm bells went off in Melissa's head. This seemed sketchy. I don't know. Please, Charlie implored. It's important. I promise I'm not trying anything weird. Melissa hesitated, studying Charlie's earnest expression. Finally, she nodded. Okay, 10 minutes. Charlie's shoulders sagged in relief. Thanks. See you there. As he walked away, Melissa's mind raced. What could Charlie possibly want to talk about in private? A knot of anxiety formed in her stomach as she made her way outside. The area behind the gym was deserted when Melissa arrived. She paced nervously, debating whether to just leave, but curiosity got the better of her. A few minutes later, Charlie appeared around the corner. He approached slowly, hands shoved in his pockets. Thanks for coming, he said. I'm not really sure how to say this. Melissa's heart pounded. Just spit it out, she said, more sharply than she intended. Charlie took a deep breath. I know, he blurted. About you, I mean. That you weren't always Melissa. The world seemed to tilt beneath Melissa's feet. She staggered back, blood rushing in her ears. What are you talking about? She stammered. Charlie held up his hands. It's okay. I'm not going to tell anyone, I swear. I wanted you to know that I know, and that I think it's really brave, what you're doing. Melissa's mind reeled. How had he found out? What was she going to do? How? She whispered. My cousin went to your old school, Charlie explained. She mentioned it over the summer. I've known since the beginning of the year. Tears welled in Melissa's eyes. Are you going to blackmail me or something? What? No. Charlie looked horrified. That's not why I told you at all. I wanted you to know you're not alone. Melissa blinked in confusion. What do you mean? Charlie shuffled his feet, avoiding her gaze. Sometimes I go by Charlene, he said softly. For a moment, Melissa could only stare in shock. Then a bubble of hysterical laughter escaped her. Are you serious? Charlie nodded, a wry smile tugging at his lips. Dead serious. I'm not as brave as you, though. I've never come to school as her. Oh my God, Melissa breathed. She sank to the ground, suddenly lightheaded. After a moment, Charlie joined her. I'm sorry if I freaked you out, he said. I've been wanting to tell you for months, to let you know that someone understands, that you have an ally. Melissa wiped at her eyes, sniffling. I can't believe this. I felt so alone, like no one could possibly understand. Charlie hesitantly placed a hand on her shoulder. "You're not alone. And for what it's worth, I think you're amazing. You're living as your true self, consequences be damned. I wish I had your courage." A warmth bloomed in Melissa's chest. For the first time in months, she felt truly seen and understood. "Thank you," she whispered. "You have no idea how much that means to me." They sat in companionable silence for a while, each lost in thought. Finally, Melissa turned to Charlie with a small smile. "So, Charlene, huh?" Charlie ducked his head, cheeks flushing. "Yeah, she doesn't come out very often, but she's a part of me." "I'd like to meet her sometime," Melissa said softly. Charlie's head snapped up, eyes wide with surprise and hope. "Really?" Melissa nodded. "Yeah, maybe we could have a girls' night or something." A grin spread across Charlie's face. "I'd like that." As they stood to leave, Melissa felt lighter than she had in months. She wasn't alone anymore. She had an ally, someone who truly understood her struggles. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, everything would be okay. The next few weeks passed in a blur. Melissa and Charlie grew closer, often meeting up after school to talk. It was liberating to have someone she could be completely honest with, someone who understood her journey. One afternoon, they were sprawled on Melissa's bed, flipping through fashion magazines. "Oh, that dress would look amazing on you," Melissa gushed, pointing to a flowing lavender gown. Charlie, or rather Charlene at the moment, blushed. "You think? I've never worn anything that fancy before." "Definitely," Melissa assured her. "The color would really bring out your eyes." Charlene smiled shyly. "Maybe someday." A comfortable silence fell between them as they continued browsing. After a while, Charlene spoke up hesitantly. "Can I ask you something?" Melissa nodded. "Of course." "How did you know?" Charlene asked softly. "That you were really a girl, I mean. Not just someone who liked dressing up sometimes." Melissa was quiet for a moment, considering. "It's hard to explain," she said finally. "I think I always knew, deep down. But I tried to ignore it for a long time. It just felt wrong, you know? Like I was playing a part that didn't fit." Charlene nodded, eyes distant. "Yeah, I think I get that. When I finally admitted it to myself, it was like everything clicked into place," Melissa continued. "Suddenly the world made sense. I could see a future for myself that actually felt real." "That sounds nice," Charlene murmured. Melissa studied her friend's face. "Do you think you might be—" Charlene shrugged, picking at a loose thread on her shirt. "I don't know. Sometimes I think maybe, but other times, I'm okay being Charlie too. It's confusing." "That's okay," Melissa said gently. "You don't have to have it all figured out right now, or ever, really. Gender is complicated." Charlene gave her a grateful smile. "Thanks, I'm glad I have you to talk to about this stuff." "Me too," Melissa replied, squeezing her friend's hand. As the days went by, Melissa found herself feeling more confident in her own skin. Having Charlene's support made a world of difference. She even started to consider Brittany's suggestion about asking Travis to the dance. One day after school, Melissa was gathering her courage to approach Travis when she overheard a conversation that made her blood run cold. "I'm telling you, there's something off about that Melissa chick," a male voice was saying. Melissa recognized it as belonging to Jason, one of the school's notorious troublemakers. "What do you mean?" another boy asked. "Haven't you noticed how tall she is? And her hands are huge. Plus, I heard a rumor that she used to go to Westfield as a dude." Melissa's heart pounded as she pressed herself against the lockers out of sight. "No way," the second boy scoffed. "You're full of shit." "I'm serious," Jason insisted. "I bet if we got a look under that skirt, we'd find a big surprise." The boys laughed cruelly. Melissa felt sick to her stomach. "Well, there's only one way to find out," Jason said, his voice taking on a dangerous edge. "Maybe we should corner her after school sometime, see what's really going on down there." "Dude, that's messed up," the other boy protested weakly. Melissa couldn't bear to hear any more. She fled down the hallway, vision blurred by tears. She burst into the nearest bathroom, locking herself in a stall as sobs racked her body. This was her worst nightmare come true. She'd known there was always a risk of being discovered, but to hear such hatred and threats, it was overwhelming. For a moment, Melissa considered never coming back to school. She could transfer somewhere else, start over where no one knew her past. Or maybe it would be easier to just go back to living as a boy, to stop fighting so hard to be herself. But as her sobs quieted, a flame of anger ignited in her chest. Why should she have to hide? She wasn't hurting anyone. She was just trying to live authentically, to be happy in her own skin. Melissa took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. She wouldn't let bullies like Jason drive her away. This was her school too, and she had just as much right to be here as anyone else. As she exited the bathroom, she nearly ran into Travis. "Whoa, you okay?" he asked, steadying her with a hand on her arm. His brow furrowed as he took in her tear-stained face. "What happened?" For a split second, Melissa considered telling him everything, but fear held her back. "It's nothing," she mumbled. "Just having a rough day." Travis didn't look convinced. "Are you sure? You know you can talk to me if something's wrong, right?" Melissa's heart swelled at the genuine concern in his voice. She managed a small smile. "I know. Thanks, Travis." He squeezed her arm gently before letting go. "Anytime. Hey, listen. There's actually something I wanted to ask you." Melissa's pulse quickened. "Oh?" Travis rubbed the back of his neck, suddenly looking nervous. "Yeah, I was wondering if you'd want to go to winter formal with me?" For a moment, Melissa could only stare in shock. Was this really happening? Travis mistook her silence for rejection. "It's cool if you don't want to," he said quickly. "I just thought—" "Yes," Melissa blurted. "I mean, I'd love to go with you." A brilliant smile spread across Travis's face. "Really? Awesome. I'll text you later to figure out details and stuff." Melissa nodded, still slightly dazed. "Sounds good." As Travis walked away with a spring in his step, Melissa leaned against the lockers, heart racing. She'd just been asked to the dance by her crush. It was a dream come true. But as the initial euphoria faded, anxiety crept in. What if Travis found out her secret? What if Jason and his friends tried something at the dance? Melissa pushed the worries aside. She refused to let fear rob her of this moment of happiness. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she would face them head on. For now, she had a date to plan for. The weeks leading up to winter formal flew by in a whirlwind of excitement and anxiety for Melissa. She spent hours agonizing over the perfect dress, finally settling on a deep blue gown that made her feel like a princess. Charlene helped her pick out accessories and practice her makeup, the two of them giggling like the schoolgirls they were as they tried on different looks. But beneath the joy lurked a constant undercurrent of fear. Jason's threats echoed in Melissa's mind, and she found herself looking over her shoulder in the hallways. She considered telling a teacher, but the thought of outing herself to the administration terrified her. Instead, she confided in Charlene, who promised to keep an eye out for any trouble. The night of the dance arrived crisp and clear, stars twinkling in the velvety sky. Melissa's hands shook as she applied her lipstick, stomach fluttering with nerves. What if Travis realized something was different about her? What if she didn't pass well enough in such a formal setting? A soft knock on her bedroom door interrupted her spiraling thoughts. Her father poked his head in, eyes widening as he took in her appearance. "You look beautiful, sweetheart," he said, voice thick with emotion. Melissa blinked back tears, careful not to smudge her mascara. "Thanks, Dad." He crossed the room and enveloped her in a gentle hug. "I'm so proud of you," he murmured. "You've come so far. Your mother would be too if she were here." A lump formed in Melissa's throat at the mention of her late mother. She'd passed away when Melissa was young, before she'd even begun to understand her gender identity. Sometimes Melissa wondered what she would have thought of her daughter. "I hope so," she whispered. The moment was broken by the sound of the doorbell. Melissa's heart leapt into her throat. Travis was here. She made her way downstairs, acutely aware of every swish of her skirt, every click of her heels against the hardwood. As she rounded the corner into the living room, she saw Travis standing awkwardly by the door, hands shoved in his pockets. His eyes widened as he caught sight of her. "Wow," he breathed. "You look, wow." A pleased flush crept up Melissa's neck. "Thanks. You clean up pretty nice yourself." Travis grinned, some of the tension leaving his shoulders. He stepped forward, holding out a small box. I got you this. I hope it's okay." Melissa opened it to find a delicate corsage of white roses and baby's breath. "It's beautiful," she said softly. Travis carefully slipped it onto her wrist, his fingers warm against her skin. Melissa's breath caught at the gentle touch. After enduring the obligatory round of photos from her parents and a poorly concealed glare from Ethan, they were finally on their way. The drive to the school was filled with nervous small talk, both of them hyper-aware of each other in the close confines of the car. As they pulled into the parking lot, Melissa's anxiety spiked. This was it. There was no turning back now. Travis must have sensed her unease because he reached over and gave her hand a reassuring squeeze. "Hey, you okay?" Melissa managed a shaky smile. "Yeah, just a little nervous, I guess." "Me too," Travis admitted. "But we've got this. It'll be fun, I promise." His easy confidence bolstered Melissa's spirits. She took a deep breath and nodded. "You're right. Let's do this." They made their way into the transformed gymnasium, marveling at the twinkling lights and elegant decorations. Melissa spotted Brittany and the other girls by the punch bowl and waved, earning excited squeals and thumbs up in return. As they moved further into the room, Melissa caught sight of Charlie standing awkwardly against the wall. Their eyes met and Charlie gave her an encouraging smile. Melissa felt a rush of affection for her friend. Maybe someday Charlie would feel brave enough to come as Charlene. The night passed in a blur of dancing, laughter, and stolen glances. Travis was a perfect gentleman, keeping a respectful distance during slow songs, but still holding her close enough to make her heart race. For a few blissful hours, Melissa forgot all about her worries and just enjoyed being a normal teenage girl at her first school dance. But as they stepped outside for some air, reality came crashing back. Jason and his cronies were loitering near the entrance, sneering as Melissa and Travis walked past. "Hey, Travis, having fun with your boyfriend?" Jason called out. Travis's brow furrowed in confusion. "What are you talking about?" Jason's grin turned cruel. "Oh, you didn't know? Your little girlfriend here is actually a dude in a dress." Melissa's blood ran cold. This couldn't be happening. Not now, not like this. "Shut up, Jason," Travis snapped. "You're being an asshole." "Am I? Why don't we find out for sure?" Jason took a menacing step forward. "Come on, freak, show us what you're hiding under there." Melissa backed away, trembling. Travis moved to stand between her and Jason, fists clenched. "Back off," he growled. "Or what?" Jason taunted. "You gonna defend your little TR?" He was cut off by a fist connecting solidly with his jaw, but it wasn't Travis who had thrown the punch. It was Charlie. "You leave her alone," Charlie snarled, shaking out his hand. Jason staggered back, more shocked than hurt. His friends looked uncertain, clearly not having expected any real resistance. "This isn't over," Jason spat, but the threat sounded hollow. He and his lackeys slunk away, shooting dark glances over their shoulders. As the adrenaline faded, Melissa's legs gave out. She sank to the ground, shaking uncontrollably. Travis crouched beside her, face etched with concern. "Are you okay? Did they hurt you?" Melissa shook her head, unable to form words. Tears streamed down her face, ruining her carefully applied makeup. Charlie knelt on her other side, voice gentle. "It's okay, Melissa. They're gone. You're safe." Travis looked between them, confusion and dawning realization warring on his face. What's going on? Is what they said true? Melissa couldn't bear to meet his eyes. This was it, the moment she'd been dreading for months. She gave a tiny nod, bracing herself for disgust or anger. Instead, she felt Travis's arms wrap around her, pulling her close. "Oh, Melissa," he murmured. "I'm so sorry. You didn't deserve any of that." Melissa broke down completely then, sobbing into Travis's chest as he held her. Charlie rubbed soothing circles on her back, murmuring reassurances. Eventually, her tears subsided. She pulled back, sniffling. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I should have told you." Travis shook his head. "You don't owe anyone an explanation for who you are, least of all me." You're not mad?" Melissa asked hesitantly. "Of course not," Travis said firmly. "I like you for who you are, Melissa. This doesn't change that." Fresh tears welled in Melissa's eyes, this time from relief and gratitude. She leaned in and kissed Travis softly. He returned the kiss without hesitation, cradling her face gently in his hands. Charlie cleared his throat awkwardly. Maybe we should head back inside. People are starting to stare." Melissa laughed wetly, suddenly aware of their surroundings. Travis stood and offered her a hand up, which she gratefully accepted. As they made their way back into the dance, Melissa felt lighter than she had in years. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would always be people like Jason in the world. But for the first time, she truly believed she could face whatever came her way. She had friends who accepted her. She had Travis, who liked her for who she was. And most importantly, she had herself, finally free to be the person she was always meant to be. Melissa squeezed Travis's hand, a smile playing at her lips. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she was ready to face them. After all, she was done hiding. It was time to live. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.